Warning, the following audio transmission will forever change your outlook on society. You will no longer believe the narrative. You are about to wake up and see things for what they really are. News, facts, and opinions. This is the Doom Daily Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. The website, www.jestersvoice.com. Everywhere on social media, @Jester Dooms. Feel free to add me on the Snapchat, @Jester Dooms. It is where I'm probably most responsive. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday. That's right. It's Monday. You are back to the grind. Monday, January 19th. 2026 to be exact. Also Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So some of you may have your kids home from school, and I would suggest not letting them listen to this show. This is marked explicit for a reason because it is not kid friendly. But y'all don't listen to me and you let the kids listen anyway, which is probably not a good idea on your part, but whatever. I'm not going to tell you how to parent. God, I'm not going to do it. In other things that are fun, and a new episode of the It's Doomsday podcast came out today. So if you're not listening to the It's Doomsday podcast, my other show, you totally should, because it is back, and it is back and better than ever before. You know, I am, a survivalist prepper guy, right? So those are the things I'm passionate about, and I love to talk about things I'm passionate about. And I've retained so much information over the years. It's almost like I'm the prepper Britannica of information. Okay. I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy out there, but I'm definitely not the dumbest. And with that comes a great fucking show. So check out the It's Doomsday podcast on all podcast platforms. All right. So I hope your morning is going well so far. You're obviously stuck with the kids. You didn't have to go and, deal with the traffic or getting them off to school. Sorry about that, guys. Got a notification in the background. So if you are home with the kids today, take advantage of this time. All right. For their little minds and their little pea brains, this is a great day being off of school, and they don't really know why. So maybe do a little bit of education with them on who Martin Luther King Jr. was. Maybe do a little bit of education into the civil rights movement and give them correct information. All right. Because one of the problems we're doing with the kids nowadays that we're raising is they're losing a lot of history. They're losing a lot of it. And what happens with that is the government and the media can start to change the narrative when they know that are people that are dying off that remember these things. Right. So take it upon yourself as a responsible parent to educate your kids on true happenings of the civil rights movement. There's a lot of people out there that are still race baiting today, that are still trying to use the race card a lot. And we are no longer living in those times. That is of the past, and people are trying to keep that alive. So it's very important to give true stories and really educate and show how far we've came as a nation for equality. Okay. And how the minority populations of this country have much more opportunities than they did before. And they are in positions of power. Back before the civil rights movement, they would have not have been able to hold positions of power. So we've came a long way as a society within this country. And like I said, I think it's important to educate your kids because there's so many people out there that want to keep the race baiting alive. The media wants to use it as a tactic. Politicians like to use it for a tactic. And what you need to teach them is, everybody's red-blooded. And that's all that really matters. We're all stuck on this planet together. That's all that matters. And everybody should be treated equally. The end. You shouldn't get special treatment because you're a different color. I don't care what that color is. You just shouldn't get special treatment. I don't fucking care. We all go through, every ethnicity on this planet has been through some sort of crisis or hell at some point in time. All right. For those of you guys that don't know, I'm Irish and Italian. Okay. And the Irish and the Italian also had it very, very fucking bad when they got here. All right. the Native Americans of this country, we pretty much wiped them out and took everything from them to an extent. All right. Now, when we get into the history of, Black Americans and how they ended up here and everything else and where we came from then on, understand every ethnicity on this planet has suffered some sort of crisis and hard time. Okay. So we don't need to get hung up on these things. We need to move beyond them, realize we are a better nation now. We are a better planet now. We're more humane than we were before. And that's all. Press on, smile, wave, be fair to everybody. Treat others how you yourself would want to be treated. The end. The end. Assholes come in all shapes and sizes and all different colors, I can tell you that. And one experience with one person doesn't equate to a group of people. Okay? That's just the way it is. All right? And this is the message we have to share to our children. Okay? This is what they need to know. They need to know how bad society used to be. They need to know the history of how disgusting humans can be to each other and where we're at today and how we've made leaps and bounds in the realm of progress and, just moving forward in a different and better, brighter direction. Because we are being dumbed down. We are being dumbed down very, very bad. So anyway, that's all. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after these messages.
Can't get enough of Jester Dooms? Check out his other show, It's Doomsday Podcast, available on all podcast platforms. That's It's Doomsday Podcast.
Back to the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. So before we tear into... I only have one article I want to read on today's show. So before we get into that, I do want to talk a little bit about the homestead update stuff and what's going on in the realm of that. So if you've been catching my TikTok lives, I've been obsessively moving dirt. Okay. And the idea of the rainwater collection system, it's not a topic for this show, but I'm just super excited about it and I can't stop thinking about it. So I got a phone call from my buddy yesterday who's had this, had a cistern on his property for 50 years and never really had any issues with it. And he doesn't live at home anymore. And he talks to his dad every Sunday. He calls and checks in. So it's like, hey man, next time you call your dad, ask him some questions for me about the cistern tank. Sure as shit. He called me yesterday after he talked to his dad and filled me in on some, questions I had, because it wasn't that their cistern tank was extensive or badass or amazing. It's like, no, this thing has been there for 50 years. They've never had a fucking issue with it and it's never sprung a leak. So what did they do? That's what I want to know. Like, what did you guys do when you built this? Like, what do I need to know? Like, what did you guys do? Did he piss in the waterproofer? Like, what was that secret you guys had to such great success with this? And there was really nothing. There's really nothing. It is just simply how it was built. It was just built good, right? So he gave me some ideas, and that is what I'm so excited about, are the ideas that are surrounding this rainwater collection cistern tank. So I was telling him, yeah, man, I was really curious about, how they built it and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, if you remember, there was 2 walls in there. Like my dad said, he waterproofed the exterior wall, but didn't waterproof the center wall so that like the water could seep through the concrete and fill both sides. It's like, oh. I said, dude, I don't remember a center wall being in there. He goes, oh, yeah, there was. He said, so the outside was built with all solid concrete block. I guess back then, like solid concrete blocks were available and cheap. And he said the inside one they built out of regular like cinder block. So the water could seep from one side to the other. And I was like, oh, that's genius. And he says, what do you mean? I said, well, I've been trying to figure out a way to span the top of this with wood. And I felt I was getting a little too much of distance to span and have it be safe for people to walk over and stuff like that. But I was like, man, I could easily add a wall in the center. And then that changed something else in my brain. And I said, that's going to act as a baffle. So whenever I'm having heavy rains, like really heavy rains, and you've got, 10 gallons pouring in that spout a minute, if I have a baffle in there and I have my pickup on one side of the baffle and I have my intake on the other side of the baffle, that's going to keep all of the water from stirring up, reducing sediment, and that will be fantastic. He's like, yeah. I was like, but I have to access both sides, and I really don't want to have to, put 2 access points in this thing. I said, so I got to figure that out. And then it was, oh, well, we can do the inside cinder block wall, and I will backfill all this with concrete anyway for longevity and just being very stout and well made. And I'm going to have a pumper truck here regardless. So what's another wall kind of thing? I said, but what I'll do is I'll put a beam in there, and I'll just have an opening in the center, like a 3-foot by 4-foot opening that I can go through with an A-frame ladder, and just have that be about, 4 foot up, 3 foot off the ground will be the base of my baffle, right? So it'll come up about 3 or 4 foot. I'll have an opening in the center with a beam over top that's like a 3x4 opening that I can climb through to access the other side to work on it. And there you go. We're done. We're good to go. So now I can access both sides, and I can even put a door that swings closed on there to keep all the water from stirring up together during heavy rains and reduce the sediment, right? That's what a baffle does. It prevents shifting of the water. If you guys are ever driving down the road and you see a fuel truck, or you see a milk truck, or you see a large water truck, any kind of tanker, those tanker trucks have baffles every so many feet the whole way down. And it's to prevent large straight on forces of momentum when that truck is trying to stop, right? So could you imagine having a 50,000 gallon tanker, and you come to a stop and you have 50,000 gallons rushing to the front of that tanker truck at one time? It also helps a little bit with the idea of sediment getting stirred up within the bottom of the tanks. I mean, it's still moving, but it's not moving as much as it would be if you had 50,000 gallons free moving in there. So same kind of concept with the baffles. So, and very simply with the baffles, something else that I can do is I can go ahead and put a pipe in the bottom from one side of the baffle to the other with a valve, to where if I want to, keep water on one side but drain the other for the purpose of maintenance or cleaning, I'll still be able to retain about 4 feet of water on one side, which with my estimates is going to equivalent to about 2,500 gallons worth of water, which will currently get my family through, I would say, maybe 2 weeks, maybe. With our average usage, we use about 150 gallons a day here in water. I monitor it just to see. I'm always curious. So we would get a good ways with that. And then we start talking about some other things. And I was like, well, I could run power to this thing. So I could have lighting inside this tank to be able to do work, because he also brought up the idea of doing UV light in there to prevent bacteria growth. And somebody else had recently brought that up to me too. And I was like, well, if I'm going to run power over there, I might as well just go all out, right? Run power over there, have a couple UV lights in there to prevent bacteria built up within the tank. Yesterday I found it's a waterproof sealer that is non-toxic, that is actually made for drinking water tanks, concrete, steel, whatever. It's made for this, okay? And now I'm looking at it like this. I could have my UV lights. I can have my non-toxic waterproofer. At that point, this is safe, drinkable rainwater. It is safe for consumption, okay? So if I'm going to go through the trouble of running the UV lights, I might as well put a 110 GFI outlet in there in case I ever need to get in there and run a shop vac to clean out sludge, or if I ever need to get in there and plug in a sump pump to pump it out, I'd have the means to do so, right? So it would make a lot of sense to do it in that fashion, okay? Now, there's other reasons for having an outlet in there too. Like, say I need to put a transfer pump in there to pump from one side to the other in the event I'm cleaning out one side, or say that I want to, I don't know, what could be another example of why you would need that? Let's say I'm discovering that I'm getting a top layer of ice in the tank, and it's creating a vacuum effect, and it's a problem because maybe it's freezing up the line, or it's simply getting too cold in there, maybe, right? Well, now I have a 110 outlet in there. I could easily go and plug in a tank heater, okay, and plug in that tank heater and keep that water thawed out. Or other case scenario, maybe I get like an actual heat lamp in the event like the pickup line freezes up if it gets that cold, and direct a heat lamp right on that pickup line. So the reasons for having a power outlet in there are kind of endless. But then I was thinking about maintenance purposes and getting in there and being able to see what you're doing. Why not mount some overhead lighting in there as well on a switch? So I could just flick those lights on and go to town and work on whatever I need to work on. Because also the other idea with doing this cistern tank is I plan on doing a geothermal heating and cooling system for my home. So basically, the added bonus of the cistern tank is I can run all my cooling lines and heating lines through the cistern tank. Now, before you say, Dooms, what are you, crazy? You're going to run, this stuff through your drinking water. Yeah, absolutely I am, because here's why. So the only thing that really needs to truly run in that system, with everything I've been reading online and research I've been trying to do and really get this figured out, is there's a lot of mixtures you can go with. People go with antifreeze. There's all kinds of different things, but a very good non-toxic method people are going with is they're going with I think it's a 95% isopropyl alcohol with distilled water. And apparently that works. That works really well, and it's non-toxic. If you spring a leak and you get a bit of alcohol smell in your water, you know that you have a leak and you have to go fix this thing. Okay? Now, the thing with that is isopropyl alcohol, the ppm that would be in there in a 10,000 gallon tank, the little bit that would get in there, you'd notice it, you'd smell it, but it is not going to kill you. It's not going to get you sick. If you can smell it in the water, you know you have a problem. Don't drink it for a while. Fix the leak. If you shower in it, it's not going to hurt you. If you got a cut or something, it might burn a little bit, but that's the end. Okay, it's the regular isopropyl alcohol with distilled water. Okay, now before you say, well, what about all that tubing in there, Dooms? What about that shit? Well, it's the same tubing you use for your drinking water. So again, will not have an effect. So my thought is I could have this lovely underground water collection system that will also double as my heating and cooling system as well. So to me, this is ingenious. Like, this should be something that everybody is doing. You want to talk about, going green and reducing energy costs? Like, this is the fucking way to do it. We collect the rainwater. The rainwater goes underground. We don't have to have any heating, hopefully, to keep that water thawed out because it's below the frost line. The other flip side of the spectrum is that water that's sitting in there, remaining the ambient temperature of the ground, is doing my heating and cooling. This is one of the smartest possible things I could be doing here at my place in order to reduce energy costs and everything. Now, partially the other reason I'm doing this is for cost reduction, the reduction in electricity bills and heating and cooling of the home and all that, right? Because, I mean, my ultimate goal on my property is to be 100% bill free and actually make money off sitting on this land. And I'm going to fucking make it happen one way or the other. It is going to happen. All right. You will see me in retirement making a profit off this property with zero bills here. It will end up happening. That's what is coming in the future. Okay. It is. I'm going to get there somehow, some way, someday. That is the goal. So, but yeah, I wanted to talk about this cistern tank thing because I am just so, I guess, just excited. Because like now I'm actually digging it out. Now we're actually figuring out different dimensions to make the tank bigger. I'm getting good input from other people. And it's on the front of my mind. And I felt like I had to talk about it on today's show. I know a lot of people aren't going to be excited for this, and it might be kind of dry for some people. But it is the excitement of the day. And guess what? I'm going to be out there again today, continuously moving dirt. So find me on the TikTok at Jester_Dooms. And come into my live. It's either that or maybe we'll be live on YouTube. I don't know. We're going to see what transpires. We're going to see what happens. I haven't been doing too well on the excavator lives on TikTok. Maybe YouTube will be a better option. Maybe we will. Yeah, I think we will try that today. We'll try the old YouTube. Anyway, we'll be right back after these messages.
Jester from It's Doomsday Podcast and the Doom Daily Show here. Do you ever find yourself overloaded with way too much information? Too many logins, too many passwords,
Too many websites for stuff you like? Yeah, I'm the same way. You don't have to worry about that with the Doom Daily Show and its Doomsday Podcast. Let's make it simple. Just visit linktree.com/JesterDooms. Add it to your bookmarks. That way, when you need to find the right information, it's right there, under a tap of your finger or a click of your mouse. Go to linktree.com/JesterDooms. Get it, got it, done. Remember, no one has all the answers, but this will provide you with a place to start. linktree.com/JesterDooms. And now, on with the conversation. And here's Jester. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. Everywhere on social media at Jester_Dooms. Yeah, the website, www.jestersvoice.com. Let's see here. Your code word of the week is railroaded. Railroaded. I've been railroaded. That is your code word of the week. See if you all have been listening. Also, feel free to jump on the website, www.jestersvoice.com. Leave me an audio message there at the top of the screen. Okay, so on the Epoch Times by Lawrence Wilson, Trump unveils new healthcare affordability plan. Now, I got to tell you, I got screwed when Obamacare first launched. Me and my wife got really fucked over with trying to do this Affordable Care Act plan shit. I had really good healthcare coverage, and then we got screwed. So, moving forward, President Donald Trump on January 15th released his administration's new healthcare affordability plan, which aims to lower prices through marketplace reforms that include price negotiation, increased competition, and greater price transparency. Trump's great healthcare plan includes actions the administration had already introduced or is working to implement if confided in federal law, rather than being enforced through executive orders and federal regulations. The provisions are expected to carry greater weight and be more likely to last through future administrations. In quotations, instead of putting the needs of big corporations and special interests first, our plan finally puts you first and puts more money in your pocket, Trump said in a video announcement. He called on Congress to pass the healthcare plan. Reducing drug prescription drug prices. The Trump administration has so far negotiated reduced drug prices for Medicaid patients with 15 pharmaceutical manufacturers through Trump's most favored national prescription drug pricing plan. The plan calls for pharmaceutical manufacturers to offer their lowest price on drugs to Medicaid customers, as well as to some drugs directly to U.S. patients at lower prices, introduce any new medications into the U.S. market at the lowest available price, and reinvest revenue realized from higher drug prices in other developed nations into the U.S. economy. The policy is aimed at leveling prices between the United States and other developed nations, which have long enjoyed a price advantage over the United States. Dr. Mehmet Oz administration on the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services said the lower drug prices will save Americans far more than the cost of prescription. Okay, so I want to talk to you guys about a story that took place with me this past year in Greece. So I got a bad rash in Greece last year. My whole body was broke out and like little welts that were almost like pimples, like all over my body. Like they were like, some of them were oozing and popping. Some of them were dry and itchy. It was really nasty. This is not the first time that that's happened to me over there. So I didn't have to go to the emergency room. I didn't have to go to the doctor. I didn't have to sit in a waiting room. I didn't have to do anything. You know what I did? I walked into the pharmacy there. The pharmacy technician looked at me and she goes, "Oh, I know exactly what that is. You have this. Come over here. You need this soap. You need this ointment. You need this sunscreen. Utilize these things. Also, here's an allergy pill. Take this." The whole process took less than 15 minutes, and the total amount of money spent in the pharmacy was about $50. The end. I was able to walk. It took me longer to walk to the pharmacy than to get seen and treated and sent on my way. The pharmacy was about a 1.5 mile walk from where I was at. So, like I said, it took longer to walk to the pharmacy from the beach to get treated and then go back to the beach and enjoy the rest of my day. And whenever you can walk into a pharmacy, get diagnosed, and prescribe something on the spot, it really tells you we have a lot wrong with our healthcare system in this country. But anyway, let's continue into this article. When you reduce obesity-related complications from hypertension and diabetes and the downstream effects of that, heart attacks and kidney failure, stroke, dementia, liver issues, you actually start saving enough money to justify more investments in new medications, Oz told reporters on January 15th. Trump is asking Congress to make the policy law with a grandfather clause for pre-existing deals made by the administration. The plan would also allow more medications that are proven to be safe to be dispensed without a prescription, reducing prices by increasing competition and avoiding the expense of consulting a doctor, which is what I didn't have to do when I was in Greece. I didn't have to consult a doctor. Direct payments to consumers. The Trump plan prioritizes making federal assistance in purchasing healthcare directly available to the consumer rather than channeling the funds through insurance companies, which is bullshit. There's how many companies out there that sell insurance plans? This contrasts with the Affordable Care Act, former President Barack Obama's health care law known as Obamacare, which operates by providing tax credits to consumers, which are paid directly to healthcare insurers. Republicans have argued that the practice is both inflationary and potential source for fraud. So I guess it means they can inflate that. Democrats have suggested making them permanent. In quotation, the president thinks this is far too narrow a view on what is aligning our healthcare system. That is why he is putting something out that is much broader on how to improve affordability for American patients, not just in Obamacare, a White House spokesman told reporters on January 15th. A plan to provide funded health savings accounts as an alternative to extending the Obamacare enhanced subsidies, which expire in December 2025, failed to advance in the Senate. So, guys, you can keep going through this article on the Epoch Times. It goes on a little while longer there, but the healthcare system in this country is very broken. If you ever travel abroad and you see how things are operating in other countries, it's a lot more streamlined of a system. It is a lot more affordable. We have turned healthcare into an extremely profitable business here, and we shit on consumers. Okay. And this is going to continue to happen unless we start slamming on the brakes and we say, nope, we've had enough. No more. So I am all for the healthcare being revamped in this country. And something I mentioned in that article, like certain drugs not requiring a prescription anymore. You know, there are things that I think, obviously need prescriptions for, main one being narcotics. But when you look at things like you're sick, you're not well, you need amoxicillin. I don't think anybody is out there abusing amoxicillin. Okay. So, the reality is can't we have more of a streamlined system for that? Like you go into the pharmacy, they look at you and you say, listen, my ears have been hurting for a week. Like it's really bad. And they look and they say, oh yeah, you definitely have an ear infection. Here you go. Here's some amoxicillin. Like, why do we need to go through all these extreme processes of doctors and everything else? Well, I'll tell you, because it all fucking makes money for them. That's why. They don't care about your health. They want to make a profit. The end. There is no more or less to the story. That is it. Okay. And it is every fucking side of medical services. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for tuning into the Doom Daily Show. If you would please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the show. Don't forget to give me your 1 week IRL, your one in real life interaction about the Doom Daily Show. And we will see you guys back here tomorrow for another exciting episode of the Doom Daily Show. Producer Scooter, if you would, sir, hit that button.
News, facts, and opinions. This is the Doom Daily Show.